Hi, it's me, Brooks. Welcome to Heal This. Today, my guest is Samantha Turner. She has been on before when we did the episodes about all things woo woo. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. She is extremely intuitive. She is a medium. She does a lot of energy work and intuitive coaching. And she is also a mom and a military veteran. And so thank you for doing that. And also just want to share some knowledge with everyone, something that we talk about in our office a lot about energy, right? And um, what that might look like and what it might feel like, and also how do we guard and protect and cleanse ourselves of energy that's not ours, if that makes sense. So welcome. Thank you for
Thank
being
you
here
so much.
today.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here. It's always great to chat. Great topic too.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. And currently today, so it is super snowy outside. It is like a snow day in Middle Tennessee. And so we are all just kind of hunkering down for the weekend. Yeah. So playing in the snow, making
Hmm.
all the good, delicious comfort foods to, you know, get through. So anyway,
Nope.
so that's what we're
Lovely.
doing. Um, well, okay. So I feel like energy, this topic has to start with awareness. That's kind of what I was thinking about, is that um, really being aware of the fact that we are energy and everything else around us is energy. And so, yeah, because sometimes people don't understand that some of the things they're feeling or what they're carrying is not their own, it's somebody
Hmm.
else's, or they picked it up somewhere. So maybe let's start there with the awareness part, kind of becoming more aware of the fact that we are energy and everything else is energy. What are your
Oh,
thoughts on that?
absolutely. Yeah, I think, most of the time, by the time people make it into my office, they're dealing with energy overload in some sense. They are taking things on, and it's becoming quite physical for them. And so we really have to do that kind of backtracking to figure out, like, okay, well, one, let's understand what it means to kind of deal with empathy. Because so many of my clients tend to be empathy or tend to be empaths. So that's a major part of it too. And I think everyone has
True.
that to some degree. But
Hmm.
absolutely, you have to understand what you are first, to understand that you are energy, to understand how you relate to everything that's around you, because you're interacting with it and you're experiencing energetic exchanges, whether you're consciously aware of it or trying to, con- I guess, tend to yourself in those terms, regardless. And so it's great practice to actually first start by acknowledging, I am energy and I'm interacting with energy at all times. And I think it surprises some people. I have so many that come in and they think they have to kind of develop psychic gifts or something like that first. It's like, no,
Hmm.
you're already dealing with these things. Every symptom you've just outlined to me, every, challenge you're facing in your relationships, all of that is energy. So let's pump the brakes first, talk about who you are, and let's get to know you on that level first so we can help ourselves better.
Yeah. No, that's good. Really well put. And also, I think that, yeah, let's talk about some of those symptoms. I feel like when people come into my office, it can be anything from like having a headache or unexplained stomach aches, or like an unexplained a lot of times. Like, and when I say unexplained, like for instance, if yesterday you did 100 squats, then I would expect specific muscles to hurt for you. That you
Right.
did a very intense workout or whatever.
Mhm.
But if there's no explanation for the pain or what's going on in your physical body, then that's when I tend to look at energy that's there. But it
Absolutely.
could also bleed over into like not being able to sleep, feeling extremely stuck, and
Mhm.
then also going into more like intrusive thoughts. So yeah, what have you seen come in?
Totally. Yeah. And it really can surprise people the way that these things show up, and they would never make the connection that it has anything to do with what they're navigating, like in relationships. I mean, just as an example, if you're in some sort of relationship where you're not feeling heard, you're not feeling like you're able to voice your truth, and you're just feeling very constricted here. And they come in and they're dealing with all kinds of neck pain, or even like sinus, constant congestion, constant
Mm,
colds. Sometimes this turns into kind of a thyroid type issue. And so it's just kind of getting back to like, yes, your body is now showing you these things, but where's it coming from? To talking through
yeah.
some of those.
Yeah. No, that's true. The thyroid's big because, I mean, this is our throat. So our throat chakra, speaking our truth.
Mm,
And if you're holding back a lot, then it's going to end up in that area. That makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah. And so the very first thing that I ask people is, do you take time by yourself? Are you quiet? Are you listening? Because I feel like in those moments, that's when you're checking in with self, you're checking in with God, you're checking in with, the energy around you. And what does it feel like? I had a client not too long ago. She has a very like intense, like overwhelming job. It's like too many hours of the day, right? Like 14 hours or some crazy number. She's like in front of her computer working. And
yeah.
she would wake up and sit in front of her computer, work all day, barely get up to go to the bathroom or get something to eat or drink, and then get away from the computer, lay down in bed and go to sleep. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we got to change that because that energy is just rolling, rolling, rolling into the next.
Hmm. So
So,
true. And I think one of the things I see most often, sometimes I'll see people that they'll, ask them, what's your practice? How do you tend to yourself? Even before we necessarily go energy, like what's your self-care kind of look like? And sometimes I'll have people that are like, oh, I go to the salon once a week or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, what else
right,
do you do to kind of check in with yourself? And it's interesting that a lot of people don't really have a practice, even if it's not sitting and meditating for an hour. They don't
sure.
really know how to check in. In fact, they almost avoid that part of themselves. And so I'll see so many
Hmm.
people that are, you know, super into exercise, which is great. Fitness is wonderful, it's healthy. But when it becomes this form of dissociating from yourself, when it's, I'm going to go and just work out until I am no longer thinking about all the things that have been stressing me out all day, and
Hmm.
sometimes overloading the body, that happens a lot. But I also have a lot of people that kind of go towards dissociation in terms of like scrolling on their phone at the end of the day. They're like,
Right.
this is my time to just be by myself. I like to just sit and scroll mindlessly, or even disappearing into books. I love reading. So, there's nothing wrong
Yes.
with reading, but it's, if you're feeling this need to kind of separate from yourself, that's usually a good sign that you need to check in first. Because if you're constantly wanting to leave, that's probably your body saying, there's a lot happening right now, and your nervous system kind of needs some love.
Yes, I agree. Totally.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, those are a lot of different points. If you're wanting to check out and not be present, then that's a big flag of like, hey, something is
Mhm.
going on. Um, so, and that's the balance that we're all trying to achieve, right? Where it's like, I want to check in with myself, but I also want to then stop thinking, like I just don't like the mindless scrolling or whatever.
Yep.
I always say I'm going
Mhm.
to watch a dumb show because it's like,
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
something that is not, making me think. I don't want to think. And so, but so there's nothing wrong with any of those things. It's just, where's the balance in it? Like, how did you check in
Totally.
with yourself and say,
Mhm.
wow, I'm feeling really upset about something somebody said today, or I'm really upset about, or, I'm feeling very betrayed by this person, or like whatever it is, like really just asking yourself. So I tend to start with the thing, what are you feeling right now?
Yeah. That's
what,
great.
what, what comes to mind when I say, what are you feeling? How is your body?
Mhm.
What's going on? And just really checking in with that energy. Um, so then oh, go ahead, say it.
No, no, it's great. It sounds so trivial to just ask yourself, how are you feeling? But we don't do that enough. Like so many of us, we
Mm-mm.
just don't even think to ask, especially parents, right? You're taking care of a lot of people throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, you want to be done, you want to check out. But yeah, asking yourself and being open to what your body tells you and how it comes in. Don't be
Mhm.
over critical of yourself if you don't hear your body physically speaking to you. Like that's, you can get in your own way by having too strong of expectations or trying to force something. Just be open to how it comes about. If you feel like something comes up, if it's emotional, you don't necessarily have to run it down. I tell people all the time, especially after Reiki sessions, stuff continues to move. Energy will
Mhm.
continue to flow. So if you feel like crying later in the day, you don't necessarily have to go and try to figure out exactly what the thing was, but don't block it. Don't try to push it back down.
Mhm.
Allow it to come
Right.
up and out. And it's surprising. I'll have people sometimes do kind of self hugs, like if
Mhm.
you're trying to just take a moment and connect with yourself. And so many report back that I actually got emotional in doing that. And it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you finally gave yourself some space to feel those things that were there regardless. And it's a beautiful, such an important practice to have,
Mhm.
whatever it looks like, but just showing up the same way that you would want to show up for somebody else that you care about.
Perfect.
You're worth
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. True, so true. And
Mm.
I went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, so why don't we want to feel our feelings? Why do we suppress all of that? Why have we been taught for so long? Don't talk about that. Don't feel that way. Don't, just stop, be quiet. Shh,
Mhm.
So I mean, and what I came up with is they're important. They're there
Yeah.
to teach us something. They're there to show us something. And sometimes that's scary or hurtful or, it just doesn't feel right. And so, or sometimes it's so much good stuff. I mean, because, it can go both ways, right? Where we can feel this overjoy, this feeling that we're not actually sure how to feel this happy all the time or whatever. So it's kind of these
Yep.
extremes that we go back and forth. But yes, feel the feelings.
Totally.
It's definitely a disservice we've done that we don't know how to describe what we're feeling sometimes, that we haven't learned that.
Hmm. I think a major part of this also is just it's the ownership that comes with it. That itself is very daunting to people because I think in our culture, we are really taught to kind of embrace this separation, whether it's on purpose or not. It's just this sense of,
Mhm.
if I get a cold, it's because I was exposed to a virus, right? It's never, well, I have not been taking very good care of myself. I've been stressing out at work. I've maybe been working too many hours. I kind of had an argument with somebody earlier this week that I didn't really let myself process. My immune system is then down to where I was exposed and it became a problem for me. So
Right.
it can be a major shift in somebody's life to have to start looking at those things and acknowledging, it's not just stuff happening to you. Sometimes we have to really own our stuff and pay attention to those things to then address it because it's not just happening to us, right? We
That's
are
right.
actively creating our experience here, and that's tough. Sometimes it's easier to kind of go to this place of like, oh, this just happened, or so and so did this to me, and that's why this happened, or I I must have just slept wrong. That's why my neck has been bothering me for three
Yeah,
weeks
right.
or something like
I know.
that. And it's like, okay.
I know. Sleeping is so dangerous. I'll tell you what. Everybody gets so hurt when they sleep.
It's true.
Oh, yeah, awesome. That's perfect. Yes, because energy is vibrating at a frequency. When you understand that the vibrations attract like vibrations, then you understand that in specific times, when our energy is low, and those lower vibrations, then that's when we are exposing ourselves to other low vibrations. And those tend to be things that are not just emotional, but also in a bacterial form or viral form or, parasitic fungal things. So all of that is
Yes.
there. And yes. And so we don't tend to talk about that. And yeah, and our vibration on our end is usually is something like thoughts, right? Our thoughts are
Mhm.
kind of like going in that downward spiral, and then that's when we're attaching all of those negative or lower vibrational emotions. So this is something
Absolutely.
that I'm like, this needs to be taught in first grade, We need to talk
I
about
wish.
I know. We need to
Yeah.
talk about what emotions are and belief systems are, all those things so that we go,
Mm.
"Oh, I know what I'm doing." So the awareness part is
Yes.
huge. I feel like that's why
So
we started
huge.
there.
So huge. And, I think that for so many people, one of the first steps after we have the conversation about, all things are energy, you are energy, I am energy, we're interacting right now. But starting with a practice of just listening to yourself and paying attention, especially to the inner dialogue. We're not taught
Yes.
how to do that at all.
Nope.
And to actually set out time during your day. And it doesn't have to be an hour meditation, like I said, but just throughout your day,
Nope.
paying attention to the thoughts that come into your mind. What are you allowing to pass through your field? And we don't normally have a practice of auditing our thoughts. It's just constant stream of consciousness, word vomit, sometimes just running through our head as
Yep.
we go about our day. But once we start catching those things and paying attention to, like, wow, I am actually not being very kind to myself, and I haven't even noticed it. Or for so many people, especially those that are stuck in kind of a fight or flight situation, they don't realize how much of their day is consumed by fear-based thoughts. And it could be
Mhm.
something as small as, gosh, I hope the traffic's not too bad today. I hope, my kid's teacher is there today. Or, just small things that you wouldn't really think of, but when it adds up and it's like, gosh, almost every single thought that runs through my head is of concern or of
Right. Worry.
worry to
Yeah.
some degree. And it's like, gosh, no wonder. No wonder I'm feeling on
Mhm.
edge all the time. And so for so many, I think just starting with this practice of paying attention first, just observing yourself without judgment, just
Mhm.
getting to know what that voice sounds like, and then paying attention to what you are, what kind of dialogue you're running.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
great because if we're listening with the intention of not changing yet, just the intention of listening, just hearing what is being said and how you feel about yourself and what's going on inside your thoughts, right?
Mhm.
Then they'll come in more freely and we'll be able to observe them better than if we're like, oh, I got to change that right now. So then
Yeah.
just listen first. Be aware of
Hmm.
what's going on with the energy first.
Yep.
Yes. And
Because, gosh, no, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
So, you know, thankfully, and I'm so excited about this, but I have a lot of people that come in that already understand some basics about energy. They'll
Yes.
understand, I think I'm an empath. I kind of feel these things, but they immediately want to go to this place of like, how do I protect myself? How do I block everything
Mhm.
else out? And while yes, boundaries are incredibly important, it's still
Yes.
like kind of that same thing. Well, we have to entertain, like, what are you saying to yourself first? Like,
Mhm.
what kind of programs are you running for you on a daily basis, regardless of who's around you? So
Yes.
getting that foundation down first is so important, because if you go about your day, even if we talk through all the tools about, how to protect your energy field, how to set energetic and physical boundaries with people, if you don't have a relationship with yourself to understand how you're talking to you, how you're treating you, it won't matter what you go about. Because at the end of the day, and what I always tell people is, if you're interacting with someone and it becomes this kind of toxic relationship, or you're feeling constantly overweight by this energy, or even if it's non-physical, if you're having something, you're just feeling like I'm maybe having an attachment or something along those lines. Yes, you can clear that energy from your space. Yes, you can tend to those things, but you do also need to address the part of yourself that allowed it to land, to stick to begin with. And
So
that
true.
comes with the awareness.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yes. I love that part because we have to understand that um, receptors go both ways. It's like,
Yeah.
there's that energy is talking to each other on both sides. So yes, very good. A lot of people will ask me things like, you know, I mean, we're again going into the woo woo, right? It's like people have come in about like things like, do you think I have like a family curse or something? And I'm like, I don't know how I felt about all that. And of course, it took
Yeah.
me a while to study all that and figure it all out. And I'm like, the only way that would happen is if you allowed it to happen,
Yep.
and that's the thing that we have to, again, really put out there that people have to understand is that we are light beings.
Mm-hmm.
We are very strong, powerful light beings. And
Mm-hmm.
the only way that darkness exists is in the absence of light, right? We know that scientifically that darkness doesn't exist. It only exists because there is not enough light or a
Mm-hmm.
diminishing amount of light. And so if you can understand that you are stronger than it, right? And in a moment of weakness, maybe in a moment of self-doubt or less self-love, you are lowering your vibration to a lower vibration, right? Which then
Yeah.
is not necessarily actively calling in, but just scientifically, like that's what happens is the vibration will call a like vibration in. And so just understanding that part is really important. So I'm sure you have some things to say about that.
No, no, it's you're so right. I mean, that's tough though. Like we could say that over and over again, and I'm speaking for myself as well. Like I
Yes.
even knowing that, right? You can still go about your day and have experiences, have interactions with people, and it just feels like an affront of some sort. Like, can't believe that happened. And you do have to check in and realize, like, yes, like absolutely attracts
Yeah.
like the things that you're
Yeah.
experiencing, the relationships you're navigating. It's usually helpful to pay attention to exactly what's going on so you can do that reflection and understand, am I attracting this to me? What might be causing that to continue to happen in my life? How do I shift that? How do I change it? But it always comes back to awareness because, at the end of the day, and I know you said we can go full woo woo, but we're all connected, right? And so I
Yes.
mean, we really
Yeah.
are, and so we are playing these roles for one another to kind of help enlighten that experience and to understand more
Mhm.
about ourselves and to kind of erase that illusion of separation. And it's not always
Yep.
pleasant. Sometimes it's really messy, but I think it's important. And even I'm always telling people, crazy and as difficult as some relationships and experiences can be, the faster that we can get to a place of gratitude and recognizing that there was something to be gained from this, there was something to be learned. Um, that's how we heal. That's how we move through it.
Yes. Yeah. Because I feel like, I mean, for me, and this was shown to me quite a long time ago, actually, is the purpose of this life, other lives, is to have all of these experiences, but to come to a place of love, a place of compassion and gratitude and empathy for others and ourselves at the same
Mhm.
time, because that is usually where the challenge is. It's not, it's so much easier to go, I'm so, put out and
Yeah.
mad about this. I don't like that person. I want to push away. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you have to be a part of anything that's negative or bringing you down or non-beneficial. It's just in those moments when you recognize it and you're like, why is this here?
Yeah.
Show me how I can know why or what this is in my life, me, what it is in
Yeah.
me. I'm the point of origin. And then envelop it in love and gratitude for the moment of growth. That's what it is, right? I mean,
Well said. Yes. Absolutely. It's always love, right?
yeah, it's always love. It's going to start and finish with love.
Mhm.
So, um, I know you have your own practices of kind of, you know, how you begin your day and how you finish your day. It's kind of and so do I. And I know that we've talked about this before. I wrote down three things: grounding, whatever,
Mhm.
connecting, and boundaries. And so just understanding the process of, and I think too, we're going to talk a little bit about what are we connecting to. I get
Mhm.
that a lot. People come in, well, I just want to make sure you're connecting to something good. Yeah, me too. That's
Yep.
like,
Mhm.
that's a big
Yep.
deal. So, your
Totally.
thoughts?
I grounding,
Hmm.
just to start, I think that is it's one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a lot. And people are like, oh yeah, I ground, I do meditations and things. And it's like, well, what are you actually like? What does that look like? When you sit down and do a meditation,
Yes.
what does your grounding practice look like? And why is it important? Why is it more than just like a fun thing to do at the end or close of a session? It's critical to our health, to our energetic health, to our physical
Mhm.
health. The more that I've gone down this path, the more I've realized that. And what people don't understand is that you're going to ground in something. Okay.
That's right.
Like
Mhm.
if we aren't grounded, it's almost like kind of a loose wire, like a live wire kind of
Mhm.
flying about. It feels very unstable. And, you hear the term like airheaded, things like that, just feeling kind of flighty. But I think just having a set practice of calling your energy and sending it down into the earth and understanding that the earth, it's more than just kind of an anchoring, right? It's more than just bringing our attention to the present moment. It's also kind of completing a circuit in so many
Yes.
ways.
Yeah,
We have
that's
to
right.
do it because
We have to.
otherwise, so many of us, especially those that are highly sensitive, we tend to hang out up here, right?
Mhm.
We like to rely on intuition. We like to have those connections, but when we neglect bringing it all the way down, we can face all kinds of challenges. So rather than, I tell people, be a straw, don't be a cup, right? Because if we
Mhm.
don't have that connection that goes all the way through, stuff will build up. You'll have all
Yeah,
kinds of issues, especially, digestive, reproductive, anything kind of dealing with the lower chakras. But it's intended to be this balance, right? So we've got the upper chakras wide open, we've got the lower ones that are ideally open as well. And then it kind of comes together. It's a coming down flow and it's coming up flow that can kind of
that's right.
integrate in the heart. And that's what balance looks like. But when we forget that part, it's like you're missing half the equation. So many ways the earth's energy, because so much of our body is of the earth, it tends to
Mhm.
the physical the same way that the divine might tend to the soul. It's intended to be this balance between the
That's right.
two. And you're really kind of cutting out half of your connection when you don't have that practice. And it's not just necessarily having a full on meditation, but just
No.
even going about your day. I like to tell people if you can imagine having roots coming out of the bottom of your feet, just setting that intention to bring your energy all the way down into the earth and feeling sturdy. Like even just thinking about the soles of your feet, taking mindful steps, paying attention to the weight of your body on the earth.
Mhm.
Um, just to really bring your energy all the way back down because it can really make a profound difference. And I'm excited that I'm seeing more of this kind of come into conversation and more traditional medical systems and just, how it affects our health in general, because it is. I don't think we even have a full grasp of how important it is, to be
No.
honest.
Yeah. No, you're so right. There's a couple of points. One, I feel like the earth is a gift to us. It is here. We're on it, right? Like if we just plain and simple understand that it's our home, it's where we are
Mhm.
supposed to be supported and held, right?
Yeah.
Physically in a physical form. And that brings up that we are both spiritual beings and physical beings at the same
Mhm.
time. So why would we not ground our physical body on something that is a gift that I feel is a gift from, our higher power, God, source, whatever you're going to call it, love, right? It's a gift of love to our physical bodies so that we can nourish our bodies, so that we can go and travel and see and do and be and have other, little other pets or whatever, right? Our children,
Yeah.
our whole ancestors are living on this earth. We are from it. We will return to it in a physical form. And then our spiritual self is trying to connect to source. So I'm trying to, I always do the little motion, right? Where I'm like our physical body and I'm like, okay, so we have to line up and stand on the earth and totally ground and connect. And so, it's both. It's always going to be both. It's going to be two sides of one coin constantly, just understanding that. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And then because I had an experience recently for myself where I was like, oh, it just sometimes for me, it just feels like I'm just treading water, just trying to stay above all of the
Mhm.
things that are coming at me. And I kept trying to connect. I kept trying to connect. And for me, that means I'm trying to, ask God to co-collaborate with me and help me bring me back in. And the very first thought that came into my mind was, you are not grounded. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, whoa, okay, I need to ground. Well, I couldn't go outside at that point. And so, I think for people, it needs yes, go outside, be outside as often as you can, and be
Mm-hmm.
intentional of being on the earth and that you are a part of it. But also, if you are unable to do that, we have extremely powerful minds. And
Yeah.
so, our mind can tell us, our physical body, hey, we can be grounded. And I always use the beach because that's where
Mm.
I can literally see my feet being covered by the sand and the water, and I am a part of the earth. And I envision, that the earth obviously has a soul, a spirit, and is, physically holding my feet up underneath where I'm standing. And so that's how I try to tell people to very start, is to envision it in your mind, even if you are standing outside, that the earth is holding you and that you are a part of it. And like you said, the roots are, energetic roots and cords are going back and
Yeah.
forth. So,
So, so, so important. Absolutely. I think it's important to also talk about some of the ways that a lack of grounding shows up for people, because
yes,
some we just don't know kind of what our signs
right.
are, and it can be different for every person. But I know for me, it doesn't matter if I do all the clearing after a session. If I don't do grounding afterwards, I will feel physically, it can feel almost like lightheaded. Um, Mentally, I'll feel kind of dissociated from the things that I care about. And I think that's a really important one, because so many people, it's like we'll go about our day, especially spiritual ones, honestly, those that have this regular practice of just kind of opening up and experiencing these things, it can almost become lopsided. It's like you can feel
Hmm.
only at ease when you're doing spiritual things, but the mundane, like day-to-day tasks of doing human things and just existing here, no longer, I have no interest in that. It can almost become a problem, like for mental health, of like I don't have interest in the things that I normally would care about, because all I want to do is sit in love and light, which I understand is great and it's fun to do that. But when you're starting to feel like a lack of interest in some of the things that you felt interested in before, in terms of, maybe creating art, spending time with family, doing the things that, you know, just tending to your home, something as
Yes.
simple as that. If you're not feeling that anymore, sometimes that can be a call to do some grounding and bring it back down through your foundation. Because when we're not tending to the foundation, like our lower chakras, pulling the energy all the way down, that those are our points of connection to one another. Those are our points of connection to our physical body. And so if we're not feeling that, if we're not supporting those areas, we won't be interested in tending to the physical. We won't be interested in, we'll maybe be stressed out about money, but we won't feel in balance with it at all.
Yes.
There's so many ways that that can show up, but it's a big one for people.
Yes, I agree. I think, for me, it shows up as like super scatterbrained. Like I can't control my thoughts. Like I can't, they just feel all over, and they start to kind of unravel in a way that feels really scary for me, where I'm like, and that's just not my nature. I'm not usually feeling worried or fearful. So when those things
Mhm.
start to creep in, then I start to go, oh wait, what's happening right now? Oh yeah, I'm definitely not grounded. I'm just up here, all, and that's more in my head than in my
Yeah.
spiritual crown chakra or intuition or my heart space. So trying to come back in, and really, also sometimes I feel really like my body is just super heavy. Like I
Mm.
can't, you know or you might feel ultra tired for no reason, is another thing that you're not
Mhm.
grounded, because being grounded is a source of energy, like you said, from your feet up through the top of your body,
Mhm.
whereas being connected is going back down through the other way. So,
Totally.
yeah, good stuff.
Overeating is a big one too. Like, not paying
Yes,
attention to the fact that, like, you're missing half your energy supply in some ways if you're cutting off that connection. And so if you're feeling like, I want to eat a lot of, especially like super processed, kind of, you think bad for you foods, like
sure.
greasy, kind of hard on the body, super sugary, it's almost like the cravings that come with that, it in my experience, it seems like those are kind of harder on the body, and so it's almost like your body trying to force you to pay attention to it because it takes more energy to digest those things, to bring it all the way through, and so it's like the reverse, right? Your physical is kind of trying to drive the energetic and kind of send you a message, but so paying attention to those things, like if you're feeling extremely hungry or like you want to go binge eat junk food or something after interactions with people, it could be a call to ground a little bit.
That's a good point.
Obviously eat if you're hungry, but
Yes.
just paying attention to kind of what you're craving and how it makes you
What
feel
you're
when you're eating
craving.
it and afterwards.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. Yeah, so if you're able to go outside for grounding. If you're not, you can use, your mind. And I always envision myself at the beach or going walking on a path. A lot of times is something else I do, just putting myself in the earth, like touching the
Mhm.
ground, and then really just giving so much gratitude to the earth that we have and it coming through my body and supporting me. It supports us in so many ways. So that's why, it's gratitude and love for the earth helps us ground. Sorry. And then
Yeah, no, it's so true.
um, I'm just thinking I'm also on the path as I'm talking about it. And so then the next part and this is just the grounding part. So then connecting, right? I'm trying to connect to God, to love, to source. Um, you know, um, that would look like whatever it looks like for you. And
Mhm.
I have recently, I have you read The Shack or have you seen the
Oh, yeah.
movie?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Mhm.
so in that story, God is depicted totally different than maybe what most people think,
Mhm.
and I absolutely
Really.
love it. And so I think it's really important that when you are connecting to God, that it is something that is, God is approachable. God is love.
Yeah.
God is
Mm.
constantly like, yeah, come in. Come and see
Yes.
me. And so there's never been a time where I'm like, hey, can I come in? And God's like, no, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Never. Even when I'm feeling really bad or low about myself, yes, come in here. And it's usually an enveloping hug. And
Mhm.
so having source look like to you what is approachable and what love is. And so
Mhm.
because our human minds are so limited, usually that's going to look like a person that we can understand is love.
Yep.
For me, it's heavenly parents. And so combining the masculine and feminine energies that I am. And so I, and of course, understanding that there are other deities there, right? We have, Jesus, and we have, other deities that have come to teach us things on this earth. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to connect to. And I have the process, always have the process when you're entering energy to create a door in your mind that, and asking, can I come in? And yes. And so coming in, and of course then I close the door behind me and then I'm there. So that's and it kind of goes from there. And I just I've said it before recently, I just say, hey, could we do the day together, or could we help this person that has come in as a client for me? And I ask their higher self to come forward too. And so in those situations, that's what I'm doing when we are helping someone else. um I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, no, I think the process is so important. And regardless of whether you're, you know, doing this in a professional capacity, just having some way of connecting to love, source, whatever you call it. Some people don't even like to have any kind of religious connotation to it, which I completely understand. So whatever you feel feels right to you, but having a process for really harnessing that connection is so important because we can just feel a bit lost without it. It is kind of it it's critical to who we are as spiritual beings, as energy. But for me, I know before I start sessions or even just going about my day, if I'm feeling like I need to kind of strengthen that connection, one of the easiest doors that I can take in terms of connecting to love and to God is to think about my children, to think about
Mhm.
something that I love, because whatever that door is for you, when you can open it and look at it and allow yourself to sit into that space and to breathe into that love, you're raising your vibration. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes, especially people who've gone through religious trauma or anything along those lines, where they're feeling like I want to have that connection, but I don't even know how to begin to start feeling okay with this kind of consciousness, this
Mhm.
all-knowing, this all-loving being that kind of is outside of my scope of understanding. And if it feels too far away or too big, it can feel hard to personally ground in that or to connect
For
with that.
sure.
And so I always tell people to take the door that feels right to you. What does love look like in your life? What does that feel like? And it could be anything, not just having children. It could be somebody that you love, your mom, your parents, your brother, sister, anything in your life, your
Mhm.
pets that bring
Mhm.
you love, that just you can feel that for yourself, and breathing into that space and allowing that to just expand, because that's what source is, right? That is what God is.
Yes.
That is what we're talking about with all of this. And so rather than kind of forcing the visuals, some people can't
Yes.
imagine a being, and that almost like shuts it down for them. Whatever it looks like, just going through the door that feels right for you, but doing it, like being on
Yes.
deliberate about that practice. If I went into sessions and I didn't do that beforehand, I would not be useful to people, because it's not me, right? It's not Sam that's
That's right.
sitting there trying to connect with these people. I'm just a person. I'm trying to facilitate a connection,
That's right.
kind of shine light on a relationship that they already have with source and helping them become more aware of it. But I can't do that if I'm not in the right space first. So yeah, people might not know this, but before anybody comes into my office, I'm always sitting, meditating, and not just
Mhm.
meditating, not just opening the space, but deliberately connecting to source,
Yes.
because that's it, right? That's love. That's where
Mhm.
the guidance comes in. That's where we can have this interaction, these energetic interactions, whether it's mediumship, whether I'm doing channeling, whatever it is, in a safe way, that is
Yes.
healing, with the focus of healing. And it's critical. It's like the most important part, I think.
For sure. Yes, well, because we are conduits of more light. That's what we're doing. Like you said, we're just shining a little more light on the things that are maybe hidden in the shadows that we don't see right now, that need work. They're the blocks,
Yeah.
the stuck parts. Talking about grounding and connecting to love. And you brought up something about breath. Breath is crucial. It
Mhm.
is the connection of the unseen and outside that we take in to our physical bodies that give us life. And so connecting and grounding, breath is a part of all of that.
Mhm.
And so before you start your day, maybe, if before you go into work, everyone is like, well, I'm not a healer. But you know what? You're rubbing up against somebody else's energy all day long. Like it's just
Mhm.
happening. You're coming in
Mhm.
contact, you're passing, that is happening. And so sometimes, as energy magnets, some of us are, for sure, we're
Mhm.
we're collecting other people's energy. And so the other part of all of this is there is a guarding that can happen for us to protect our energy, and also cleansing that is very important, I think. And all of those again are things that we do in a spiritual form, like through our thoughts, but also in a physical form. We might brush ourselves away from, brush other people's energy off of us, especially if we're really feeling it. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Clearing is it's should be a part of your energy hygiene, the same way that you take a shower, right? We're interacting
Hmm.
with energy all the time, whether we're doing anything about it or not. But I think the most important thing with whatever your clearing practice is to believe that when you're doing works, and being deliberate about doing it. Personally, when I get done with sessions, I always take some time. I usually keep the kind of the flow open until the person leaves my room, because sometimes spirit will want to take the
Right.
opportunity to kind of say one more thing as they're walking out the door.
Hmm.
But once it's done and I'm kind of alone in my space, I always every single time without fail go through a whole routine of, thanking spirit, thanking God for the opportunity to serve them, releasing their energy from my space. And then I will physically stand. I will do the cord cutting, which, I physically do it with my hands. I'll kind of gather all the cords and cut through it. Um, and then I'll do full sweeping, depending on, if I was doing Reiki, I'll definitely tend to my arms, making sure I'm sweeping all of that off. But I'll go through and I'll do front and back, my entire body, just making sure it's completely
That's right.
released, so that I'm not maintaining any kind of energetic connection to them. And that, because it can be hard, right? Especially as healers, we care so much about our clients. It's more than just
Hmm.
a session. These are real people that you really genuinely care about and want to help. And so
Yes.
making sure that you are having healthy boundaries with yourself and not lingering, even from a place of love, making sure that the separation is complete so that you can continue to do your job and to be healthy while you're doing it too.
Yes. Yeah, so
Mhm.
to clarify too, I think of cords or a rope, right? It's like it has multiple strands that look like light
Mhm.
chords, and that's kind of what we're talking about, is that energy. I might have, have this thought and a connection with my client or a person that I come in contact with, and there might be parts of it going to my heart, there might be parts that make my stomach hurt or whatever, and it's going back and forth, right? And so if we don't cut that energy is still going back and forth. It is.
Mhm.
And so that is exactly what we're talking about when we say you can feel it. You just don't
Mhm.
exactly know what it is you're still feeling, because up
Mhm.
here, maybe you got in your car and you drove off and you're not, in that space, that headspace anymore, but energetically it's still going back and forth. So maybe
Mhm.
to clarify that, maybe that is helpful for some
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to physically see the cord. You can still feel it in some way, shape, or
Yes.
form. A common example that I see a lot is people, if you have an unpleasant interaction with somebody at work, somebody makes you mad or upsets you or something, and then you're just replaying that over and over and over in your head,
Mhm.
or you can't move past it. You've created a cord. There's an actual energetic connection there that is happening to that person, to that event, and so you can clear it. But that is a sign that there is something that needs to be actually released from you. And rather than just taking on shame or guilt or thinking like, why can't I get over this? Well, there's an energy there that needs to be tended to.
Yes.
And
There's
you can do it yourself. You don't have to go see
yes.
somebody. That's why I always try to emphasize,
Right.
you believing that your intention is enough. You believing in your authority of your space is the most important thing.
That was beautiful.
Mhm.
I love that. Yes. Yes. So,
Mhm.
um, and also I tend to think about it in my mind, I kind of say goodbye to whatever energies as I'm,
Mhm.
when I'm doing massage, I'm touching people's bodies. So I go in and, wash all the way up to about up here.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually like, goodbye, goodbye, and I
Yeah.
say goodbye. And then I do the sweeping and just kind of bye, goodbye, goodbye. And then I just also call back my energy, because if their energy is attached to us, then our energy is attached to them. And so I just say, I would like to call back all of my energy back into my heart space, and continue that flow again that is all mine. And so
Mhm.
those are some thoughts that kind of go along with the physical action of it too. Again, checking in, grounded, checking in, connected, breath. Like it's just something
Mhm.
that you do in between each
Mhm.
session. But, for everyone else, it's something you could do at the beginning or after an interaction, if you have a meeting with someone or whatever. And then, especially at the end of the day, before you come home, because you don't want to bring whatever energy that is, good or bad. It's just
Mhm.
stays at work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So those are the things um, that's the part of connecting, and that's the part of disconnecting kind of thing, that energy and how important it is, because it is what is it called when you impacting it, it is
Yeah.
impacting our energy too. um And then just to kind of also give just a little tiny bit more, I do a guarding for myself. For instance, if I know I'm going to go to a concert, or if I'm going to be in a large group of people, or if I'm feeling like my energy, like if I'm sad or grieving, or if I'm hurting about something that's kind of got my attention energetically, and I know I'm going to go out
Mm-hmm.
where other energy is going to be. And there's going to be really great energy, and there's also going to be dark energy out there. We
Mm-hmm.
just have to acknowledge that. I do a little guarding of myself and my energy. And I kind of, leave that little switch on, when we go to pump gas and we kind of put it into that lock mode, I kind of tend to do that with my energy guard so that I'm not having to constantly think about it. It's just there. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
usually comes in a form of a very white bubble that is something that I have, you know, made from my heart space.
Yeah,
And so, what are your thoughts on that?
it's beautiful. Yeah, having a practice of boundaries, all kinds, is wonderful.
Boundaries.
I
Boundaries.
think that's becoming a more common term used, which I love because people are starting to realize it's
Hmm.
okay to have boundaries with people. Um, yeah, I my life is uh, heavily. I use a lot of boundaries. I just have to just in my day to day,
Yes.
not just doing this work, but just walking the earth as a highly sensitive person. I have to have boundaries. I pay for it physically and emotionally. So I love
Yes.
what you said about really breathing from the heart space. I think that's a major thing. What I have found is that there's kind of personally, there's different types of boundaries that I'll have depending on the situation. So, um, if I'm going into somewhere crowded, like a concert, or even just to the grocery store, I will
Yep.
usually do a bubble of some sort. And that it sounds silly, but it's just what you said. It's just envisioning a bubble around you that is pure love and light, so it can allow positive things in, but nothing else, right? And
Hmm.
it's strong and it's deliberate and it's intentional. I will usually only do that if I'm going into something where I'm expecting a lot of people to be that I'm not particularly necessarily wanting to connect with energetically. If I
Yes.
am going into a situation where I want to have a healthy balance and allow myself to connect with people and to connect on, I guess, a deeper level, but also still being protected, then I will tend to go more from this internal light. I always tell people,
Mm.
envisioning a light, like if your soul is this flame that is there, and then just breathing that, like allowing it to expand and allowing that flame, this beautiful, powerful flame to kind of surround you. It's protective, but it's not suffocating.
Yes.
Because I find sometimes if I have the intention of a bubble for too long, it'll almost
Hmm.
feel draining. It'll almost feel constricting in a way.
Yes.
And so, just depending on the scenario, whatever feels right to you. But just as an example, when I was in grad school, like I would do a lot of that kind of bubbling so that I could have, you know, still my intuition, all of these things kind of firing so I could take advantage of opportunities or connection with people, but still not feeling drained throughout the day because I was
Hmm.
guarding myself as well. It's still a protective posture, but maybe more open, I guess. So just getting a
Yes.
sense of what feels right to you, I think is so important with that, but doing it on purpose. Hmm.
Yes, and I think that comes back to the awareness again. It's like as if you are aware that, oh my gosh, my energy is going to be impacted by where I'm going to be next. And I think people come in all the time and they're like, "Oh, I really hate going over to so and so's place, but I have to because they're my relative or whatever." But there's just such a negative down feeling when I go there. Well, then, but you still are going to go and you still feel like you
Hmm.
have to go, then
Hmm.
these are practices that do work. They are, being really intentional about staying up in those higher vibrations, not participating in things that, you know, bring you down. And again, that's another thing of protecting our energy is like, what are you watching? What are you listening to?
Yeah.
What are the
So true.
conversations around you? And trying to, well, thank you for showing me this. I appreciate that, but I'm going to not participate in this lower vibration of
Yes.
conversation or
Hmm.
whatever it is. And just understanding that you can be in control of that. and really listening to your body, because it is trying to tell you if something is off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel good, it's not. And
Mm-hmm.
so listen to that, or it's just
Yeah.
not for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Yeah.
important to be in tune with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
true.
so we just wanted to share some of that. And Sam is so good at what she does. She is a very caring and kind person, but she is also hardcore, like knows what she's doing. And so I just want to make sure that, you know, go check her out at Light Remedy. Go see her. She is very helpful and can help with all of these intuitive things or energy things, physical stuff that you're having. And I love her story. And go look at her website. What is it? Tell us now.
www.thelightremedy.com. Thank you so
Yes.
much. You're so
And
sweet.
and I know she's on Instagram too, and always trying to give us good, positive thoughts and affirmations, and so helpful. And so, yeah, just be more aware of your energy. Have a practice, have an energetic practice, just like you do for your physical hygiene. You want to have positive, good, uplifting energy hygiene too, a practice
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
And so just remember, we're here to help, and we want to continue the practice of healing this. So yeah, have a good day. Thank you for being here,
Thank
Sam. I
you.
appreciate you. Yeah,
It was
thank
wonderful.
you.
Always an honor.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.